Welcome back to episode 4 of the Mr. TwoLocks 7-step strategy course, man. This episode, we're going to go into how to research bets, man. There's a lot of AI tools for this now, but you can't solely rely on AI and all this other stuff because what it doesn't account for is, see this right here? Hold on, let me put the screen down. It don't account for a player's heart. It don't account for a team's motivation. You know what I'm saying? So you can't rely on data and analytics for everything. So I'm gonna go into my full process on how I research bets. Let's get it. All right, let's run through a checklist first, and then I want to go over two apps that I really like for looking up bets and props and everything like that, right? So first one, obviously injury impact, right? Injury reports. So let's say for example, we have the Lakers playing the Clippers. Let's say LeBron is not playing and Luka Doncic is not playing as well. The two best players are not playing and they're playing the Clippers, right? And let's say the Clippers are fully healthy. It's it's going to be a very hard game for the Lakers to win if one team has all their best players playing and the Lakers have their two best players not playing. So keeping up with injuries is very important. See who is out, um, who is going to have limited minutes. That's a big one. And determining, giving your best prediction of each team rotation and things of that nature. Also, keep track of backup players. You know, if Luca and LeBron is not playing, maybe you might look to Austin Reeves to have a big game, or you could bet on Austin Reeves or someone else that's not usually, up there. But anyway, injury report is number one. Matchup strengths versus weaknesses. This is one I like a lot. So I use this in the NFL a lot. If I know a team is terrible against the run, they can't stop the run. Let's say like a team like Tennessee Titans, right? Let's say they're going up against a team like Baltimore Ravens. You know, the Baltimore Ravens got Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. They got the number one rushing offense going up against the worst rushing defense. That might be a game where you want to bet on Derrick Henry rush yards, Lamar Jackson rush yards, or whatever the case may be. So just looking up matchup strengths and weaknesses. Another example is, let's say in the NBA, you know how Charlotte Hornets really have no good big man. So whenever you see Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, Wemby play Charlotte, you might want to spot that. You might want to bet that spot. Bet Anthony Davis to have 20 points or 30 points, or bet Embiid to have 30, because the Hornets can't defend the center position. So looking at team strengths and weaknesses is another big one right there, right? So let's go to the next one. The next one is game script projection. So the best way to describe this, let me fix this. I'm sorry. Uh, Here we go. So the best way to describe this is like you have to make up a scenario in your head of how to think you think the game is going to go. So for example, let's use NBA. If the Orlando Magic is playing the Pacers, I know both teams like to play fast and they like to score a lot of points. Neither team don't like to play a lot of defense. So I might look to bet the over in that game. Because I know these two teams like to play fast and score fast. It might be a lot of points. And then from there, what I can do is, for example, I could take Tyrese Halliburton for 25 points because I know the Magic don't play defense. So game script projection plays a big role in placing bets. You have to envision what do you think the game is going to be like. For example, I had a bet last Sunday on a Rams third string wide receiver who barely scored to get a touchdown. And he got it because I knew the Rams was going to beat the Cardinals by at least 21, 30 points. They were going to blow them out. And I knew this guy would have a chance to score if the game got that out of hand. So Game script projection is another thing you need to think about, right? Who is most likely to play from ahead? Who benefits if the games go slow? Who benefits if the games go fast, right? So here goes another one. This is a very huge one that people should not neglect: fatigue, travel, and scheduling spots. So this plays a big part, especially in the NBA and baseball, where they play kind of back to back to back to back. So let's say the Lakers have a road trip coming up. Let's say they have 8 away games, right? In a row. Let's say they got to fly to Miami to play the Miami Heat, and they got to play Orlando Magic. Then they got to fly to Carolina to play Charlotte Hornets. Then they got to fly to New York to play the Knicks and Brooklyn Nets. Then they got to fly to Boston to play the Celtics. That's a lot of traveling on them athletes' bodies. They're bound to lose some of them games, no matter how good they are. They might be the best team in the league, but traveling back to back days, it causes, and then playing games, exerting all your energy for 48 hours straight, causes fatigue. So let's say the Lakers win the first 3 games, and now they play a booty Brooklyn Nets team, and you'd be like, damn, how did the Nets beat the Lakers? The Nets is trash. You want to know why the Nets beat the Lakers? It's because the Lakers been traveling for 3 days straight and they had games for 3 days straight. So always take into account fatigue, travel, and scheduling spots. That's a big one. Big, big, big one, right? Let's go to weather conditions. This is more for outdoor sports for sure, like football. So let's say we have a game in the snow. Obviously, it's not going to be a lot of points scored if two teams are playing in the snow, right? And for example, let's say the game is being played in heavy wind situations. Do you think the team's going to throw the ball as much? No, they're probably going to run the ball more. So if I see a team playing in weather where it's like 30 miles per hour wind, I might look to take the running back yards instead of a receiver yards because I know they have to run the ball, right? Because the wind is too much. So let's keep going. We got line value. So this is a more advanced strategy. This is not really for beginners, but if a line move, let's say we have Eagles minus 2.5, and then all of a sudden the Eagles overnight go from Eagles minus 2.5 to Eagles minus 6.5. And let's say they're playing the Chargers. Now you got to do your research and say, why did the odds makers take the Eagles to win by 3 all the way up to 7? Is it because Justin Herbert is hurt? Is it because Keenan Allen is hurt? Is it because Lad McConkey is hurt? Something had to happen for the odds makers to think the Eagles are going to win by 3 to now going to win by 7. That's the biggest thing. It's called line movement. Um, Public perception versus reality. All this is just um looking at how many people are betting on one side of a bet and how many people are betting on the other side. I'm gonna dive deeper into this in the next episode, so I'm not gonna go too deep here. Market confirmation, that is also deeper in the next episode. Here's a big one. This is a big one. This is probably my favorite one. Player role stability. These are metrics I look at all the time, every day probably. Snap count, red zone involvement, and target share, right? So let's say I wanted to take CD Lamb anytime touchdown. The only way I'll take that bet is if I know CD Lamb get a lot of targets in the red zone. The red zone means the last 20 yards to the touchdown line. So you want to look at players, you want to bet on players that got high volume. So if I know Dak Prescott throws to CD Lamb at least 15 times a game, and I see CD Lamb receptions at 5, I might take the over. Because if he throws to CD Lamb 15 times a game, it is very likely that CD Lamb could catch at least 5 of those. Um, And snap count is a very important one. I like that a lot. Um, that's what I use the most to determine anytime touchdown. For example, Jonathan Taylor, right? He has about 20 touchdowns this year on the NFL season. We know in the red zone, when that means the last 10 or 20 yards a team is about to score, I know that 50% of the time they are trying to get the ball to Jonathan Taylor for a touchdown. So that is a good percentage I like to bet. If I know the Colts are about to score and they're going to do their best to give it to Jonathan Taylor, it might be a good idea to take Jonathan Taylor anytime touchdown. So this is a very good one. Look up snap counts, or if you're betting on the NBA, look up how many minutes a player play. Let's say Trey Young plays 40 minutes a game. You telling me in 40 minutes he can't get 8 assists or something like that? So all those things play a part. Next is execution discipline. Oh, we'll get into that later. But now Now we're going to go over to the apps I like to use to kind of automate this process a little bit better, do better research. And there are two that I really like. I like Prop Madness is a very good one. They give you very detailed bets, but like Outlier is another good one that I like personally. I'm a big fan of Outlier because I can kind of put my strategy in and have it set to a filter. I can, because there's a lot of bets, right? Look at all these bets. I don't have time, and I know you won't have time to be looking through all these bets, right? So, how do we filter these bets? You can make your own strategy. So, for example, let's make one right here on the course. Let's say I want to only look at player bets, right? Not team bets, not money line, not totals, not spreads. I only want to look at player props, right? See, it already filtered to just player props. Let's say I can filter to just games if I want to, right? Let's say I just want to look at the Eagles and Chargers game, right? Um, let's do that. Then let's say I just want to look at a specific player. Let's say I just want to look at AJ Brown. But I'm not going to. I'm gonna keep it at all players. But you can even tie this down to specific players. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna keep it at all players because I want them to show me bets for a bunch of different people. Now you could limit it down to teams. Let's say you only want to bet on Eagles players. You can scroll down to where you just bet on Eagles players. It'll show you just Eagles player props for this game. But I'm gonna keep it open, right? And you can filter by odds. Let's say you only want to look at plus odds, right? You want to look at plus odds. For this example, I'll leave it at minus 200 to plus 325 odds, right? Let's go over. Proposition is just the type of bet I want to look for. The type of bets I like the most, I like passing attempts. I like passing yards. I like rushing attempts. I like rushing yards. In fact, let me take off passing yards and let me take off passing attempts. I really am a big fan of rushing yards and rushing attempts only. And I'm hit done. You can filter it by hit rate. Hit rate, it just means how many times have this player went over or under this mark. So let's say I wanted to take Saquon Barkley over 17.5 rushing attempts right here. He has hit this. It says he has hit this in his last 7 of 9 games. That's a 78% hit rate. So most people like the bet props that have at least a 60% hit rate, 60% or better. Now you have splits. You can do, let's say I want to look for player props. Let's say I want to look for Saquon Barkley rushing yards against top ranked defenses only, right? Or bottom ranked defenses. or top scoring defenses or bottom scoring defenses. Or I can at home, right? I can look up what bets I have at home or what bets away. It's a bunch of different things, man. They have a lot of videos about Outlier on YouTube. You can go there for more. But for this example, I'm just going to keep it at any split and move forward. And then last one, you can pick over or under. You see if they got, if I click over, they're showing me three bets here. They're showing me Barkley over 17.5 rushing attempts, Kimani Vidal over 9.5 rushing attempts, and Hurts over 6.5 rushing attempts. Let's say we just want to look at the under. Now they're showing me Tanks Bigsby under 2.5 rushing attempts. They're showing me Vidal under 35.5 rushing yards. And they're showing me Barkley under 70 rushing yards. That has an 80% hit rate. But like I said, you can't just go straight off data because Barkley could run for more than 70 yards because they going up against a weaker defense. So now this is what I will do, right? So let me just erase this. Let me put any over under. I like to keep it at any. And you can play around this. You can make your own filters. You can pick your own strategies. And before I move forward, you can save them right here. You can save. You can go to this button right here where it says filters, four filters. You click save filter right here at the bottom, save filters. And I can pick, let's say we're going to call it rushing yards filter or just rushing yards, right? And then you will hit continue. Okay. So let's go back. Let's say we want to take Jalen Hurts over 6.5 rushing attempts. We can look at his chart. If you look at his last, there's a button right here that says last 5 and last 10. You want to get some history, right? You want to look out and you see he has hit this in his last 5 of 10. This has been a 50% hit rate in the last 10 games. So, I mean, I'm not a big fan of 50% bets. I like that number to be at 60%, preferably. So, this is not a bet I will continue to research. I would like to go back out here. Uh, we have Jalen Hurts under 31.5 rushing yards. Here we go. Now, look, he has hit this in the last 7 of his 10 games. This has a 70% hit rate. This shows that Hurts has not been running like that lately. And then you could go down. You can see his average is 6 rushing attempts per game. 6 rushing attempts. You can scroll down even more. You can see Philadelphia pass and run rate. You can see they have a high run rate compared to most teams. They run the ball 47% of the time. That's almost half. And you can see the total rush attempts on the year. You see Barkley is at 198, which is 60% rush share. Jalen Hurts is at 84, which is 25%. So that's a lot. And then they have a feature here called red zone. So this shows you who runs the ball in the red zone. As you can see, half the time is Barkley, and the other half of the time is Hurts, which is reasonable because both of them like to run in the red zone. So you go down, you can see how other quarterbacks fared against the team, right? Geno Smith was under, Trevor Lawrence was under, Aaron Rodgers was under, Cam Ward went over by 1. And then you can look over here. It says Chargers rushing yards defense overall, right? They are 13th in the league at giving up rushing yards allowed. 13th in the league. That's not bad, but it ain't good either. Versus quarterbacks, they give up an average of 18 rushing yards a game. 18. So this is a very good team against that stopping quarterbacks from running the ball. This might be a bet I consider. And if you want to place this bet, you just hit it right here. And then it says added to picks at bottom right. You click on it. And then it will like show you what sports book you could bet it at or whatever. But this is how you research bets. You got to think about the things I gave you in the guideline Think about the things I gave in the document in the first part of the video, and then start using some AI tools, algorithms. Come up with your own algorithms if you want. Um, I like to use Outlier. You can use Prop Madness, whatever you want to use. So that is how you research bets. That's how I research bets. And on to episode 5.